Good afternoon, traders. It is Thursday, April 9th, 2015, and the U.S. stock market is closed. We had a wild day today, let me tell you. I really, I feel guilty almost complaining. We closed out positive $8,000 in closed out trades, and we are carrying positive over $6,000 going into tomorrow, with the Dow up 56 points. Now that sounds pretty spectacular, but something pretty horrible happened today. At least it felt horrible to me. 10 minutes after the open, our open trade equity had just topped $30,000. And so I sat here and squirmed in agony as I saw this $30,000 slip to about $8,000 or $9,000 when we finally got out. In other words, I saw over $20,000 melt in profits, melt away in about 30 minutes this morning. That's tough to take. I want to just briefly touch on this because I think people watching these videos may not understand this. My understanding of this comes from over 20 years of experience, and I observed this over 20 years ago. Let's take, just for sake of discussion, let's call the ideal point to get out of trades the sweet spot. Obviously, this morning, the sweet spot was about 10 minutes after the open. Our exits 45 minutes after the open was not the sweet spot. Now, here's the thing. When you design a mechanical system, you have to pick a sweet spot, and you have to stick with it. And it's not always going to be right. In fact, the majority of the time, it is not going to be right. But here's what I learned long time ago, and I still stick with this. The sweet spot changes daily, weekly, monthly. It never is going to stay the same. The biggest mistake a trader can do is to chase the sweet spot. If you chase the sweet spot, you're always going to be 3 steps behind. If you just stick with one sweet spot, the sweet spot will come to you. That's my biggest lesson for today's video. It's more important than anything else I'm going to say. Anyway, had a good day, and can't complain about being positive nearly $8,000 on closed out trades and carrying $6,000 open trade. But I want to show you what happened and why it was so hard for me to sit here and watch this today. This first example I want to show you is SoFun, S-F-U-N, and you can see here what happened. We were long from yesterday. This comes in here, this thing jumps all the way up here, and then in less than 30 minutes it comes down to here where we got out. And you know what we're looking at here? We're seeing our profits going from positive $3,000 up here to negative $700 here, almost $4,000 in just one stock. Very tough to take. Here's another example of the same kind of thing, of having the wrong sweet spot. This is DL, and we had bought this yesterday first hour of the day. It pops up here, and DL also was up over $3,000, and then it falls apart in less than 30 minutes when we get out here, and we rather take $3,000 in profits, we took $300 in profits in DL. Very rough. And even the trades that we did really good with, for the most part, showed the same pattern. This is at Vaxis. We had bought that yesterday, the second hour, and it popped up very nicely, but then it came down and we got out of it. Now, we still took over $4,000 out of Advaxis, but it was up to just over $6,000 there. And then, of course, after we got out, it did go lower, but then it went higher. You know, if we had gotten out at our old sweet spot, we would have been getting out almost at the high of the day. So that's the lesson for the sweet spots. I'll show you one more though, just in case you think the answer is clear. We need to get out earlier. This is JRJC. The China Finance Online. Extremely volatile market, and one that's been really good for us, but you don't want to get on the wrong side of JRJC. We bought this yesterday, the first hour. Look what happened here this morning. This thing just screamed topside, and you know, we're hanging on to it. We're not getting out of it. The system says, whoa, this thing's going so good, we're going to ride it. And because we're riding it, even though it did pull back some here, we are actually holding over $6,000 in JRJC. So, great trade there. And in this case, you know, we're doing it right. The sweet spot isn't so bad after all. So, a little bit frustrating, but very profitable day. This is Trader Bob signing up. I'll see you tomorrow on Friday.